Katie.
It's perfect.
Spirit fingers. Hey, I'm Matt.
I'm Katie.
And we're the Wagners.
I remember when we were at Mercy Hill one Sunday and somebody mentioned that they were going to plant a church in Roanoke, Virginia. And the first thing that I thought was that my mom has some family in Roanoke, so I kind of figured that would be an option for us. And then didn't really think about it much more for a few days. I mentioned it to Matt and then kind of just kept thinking about what reasons we had not to go. We had a lot of reasons to go eternally, obviously, and then just couldn't really think of any good reasons that we should stay.
At Mercy Hill, it's kind of like in the DNA of the church. It's not about the seating capacity that we judge, the success of our church, but it's the sending. So it's just you would see people that you love, they would go and start a new group. You'd see people that you love, they'd go and start a new church.
Started to think more about just the sacrifices that, we know that Jesus made for us, and then all of the things that we would have to give up to move our lives, one state away or even several states away would pale in comparison to what he's sacrificed for us.
When I think of the word multiply, I think that it's not about just, finding one person that looks like me and making them into, a good little boy or girl that goes to church, but multiplying is trying to be so involved and allow the Lord to move through us to impact other people.
I think that it starts with the deep relationships and the meaningful, like you mentioned, just finding people who are hurting or maybe who have gone through similar stories as yourself and just being able to come alongside them and develop those close-knit relationships, and then watching them do that for somebody else, and then watching those people do that for somebody else, and then it becomes this movement, this revival that we've seen in Acts and all throughout the Bible.
I met Michael right when we moved to Roanoke. I met him when I started the Y. I started working there. He'd already been working there for a few years.
The first time I met Matt, he just opened up about his church and the church plant that he was in and his love for Jesus. And it seemed real. And he was talking about the people at his church. And it just seemed very authentic. I could see him just lighting up when he got to talk about Redemption Church and about the work Jesus has done in his life. So my wife and I, we're Christians, and we fell in love with Redemption Church, but life happened, and we bought a house and had a baby, and it was very stressful, and we just began walking away. Carter actually texted me one day to check in, see how things were going, and I knew at that point that I needed to come back to Redemption, but my heart still wasn't there at the right time. So one day I asked Matt if he could pray for my heart, and that just opened up a dialogue between him and I about our struggles and about our sins and about how loving Jesus is, even despite our struggles and our sins. And over the course of a couple of months of him praying for me and us praying together and repenting together and just loving one another, I came to church Easter of 2022 and was just blown away. And the Lord, thankfully, just snatched me up.
He was broken, and he was telling me about that, and he was kind of sharing that, and there was a lot of negativity that he had, and I knew that with that brokenness, that was an opportunity for the gospel just to come in and just mess with him, and I couldn't help but just be able to enter into that because I knew what God had did in me. I knew where he had begun to break me of some of my old habits and my ways. When we first come here, I asked God to let me meet another person who was like me. Let me meet a Matt. The Matt that was in Greensboro, I want right here in Roanoke. And I thought that prayer was going to be years down the road. And it was like as soon as we stepped foot in here, I came across Michael.
And I know the Lord's using that for me to do the same with other people. And because of that, my wife and I are serving at Redemption. My wife serves in nursery. I serve in hospitality. And it's a chance for us to meet people and share Jesus with them, because that's what it's all about. People are the mission.
We met in our brokenness, and instead of, I think a lot of times we think we have to have it all together, and I think that we lead out in our weakness, just as the scriptures call us to be real with people and look for that. And I think that was just, that it was, I can't take any glory for anything, and Michael could second that he can't take any glory. It's just like the Lord was already moving here, and we just jumped into that stream together.